Ladies and gentlemen, 34 hours ago, on the 8th of February, 9 minutes past 9 a.m., the Baltic states disconnected from the Brel system. And today, 5 minutes past 2 p.m., we joined the continental European electricity system. Now, in a symbolic act to confirm this historic connection, we invite to the stage Gitanas Nausėda, President of the Republic of Lithuania, the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, Andrzej Duda, President of the Republic of Poland, Edgars Rinkēvičs, President of the Republic of Latvia, Mzioko Alender, the Minister of Climate of the Republic of Estonia. Please activate the connection.
Welcome to all of you here in London at the BRD HQ and joining us online today. My name is Aida Sidikova. I'm Director for Sustainable Infrastructure in Middle East and Africa. But today's panel will be about a different region. We will be looking at the Baltic states and how to secure sustainable, affordable, and reliable energy. The Baltic countries, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, have made major progress in building more independent and sustainable energy systems, as we've just seen. And a key driver for that was the Baltic Energy Market Interconnection Plan. It helped the region to cooperate more closely and connect to the wider European electricity network. So this panel today will take a closer look at the opportunities ahead, from energy storage to smart grids, to grid strengthening, to regional collaboration and policy support. These are all critical for shaping a secure, sustainable energy future for the whole region. Here to look at the issues and have a discussion, I'm really pleased to be moderating an esteemed panel today. Joining us, Charlotte Roux, Managing Director for Central and Southeastern Europe of EBRD, Dainius Vičinskas, Chairman of the Board and Managing Director, ILTE, Riina Kai, CFO and Management Board Member, Elring, Gatis Junghans, Member of the Management Board, AST, and last but not the least, my colleague Grzegorz Zielinski, Director for Energy Europe here at the BRD. So whether you're watching us here or in the audience, please feel free to post your questions on Slido. We will be picking them up closer in the last 30 minutes of the discussion today. And just to remind you, can see the Slido number on the screen. It's 3008279. So I will be repeating it later again. And now let's kick off the discussion. First, probably, let me go to Charlotte. Charlotte, you've been working with the Baltic states for many years. In your view, what are the current opportunities in the region, and what would be EBRD role? What should be EBRD role in it?
Well, thank you, Aida, for the introduction, and thank you all for joining us today. It's a real pleasure to be here and talk about a subject that's quite close to my heart. I started my career in banking, working in the Baltic states for our financial institutions team back in the 1990s. So it was with great pleasure that in 2017, when I took up my responsibilities as managing director for Central and Southeastern Europe, to return to the region and discover what a transformation had taken place in the intervening period. Yet, despite the degree to which the region is advanced, EBRD clearly has a role to play, including in innovation, digitalization, and capital markets development. Since the start of the war against Ukraine, moreover, and in light of the geopolitical risks, which have definitely increased, our additionality is stronger than ever. In fact, the numbers speak for themselves. Over the last 3 years, we have broke record after record in terms of the bank's new investments, both in numbers of operation as well as in business volume. In 2024 alone, we invested 540 million euros in the region, and our current pipeline of projects for 2025 is very strong. Supporting the green energy transition is one of the key priorities of the bank, and this work has been particularly visible in Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, where it is a key sector for us. While Grzegorz will go into more details, as I look at our investments in the Baltics, it is impressive that our involvement in energy and renewables has been so varied. We've worked with the largest utilities, Ignitis, Enefit, Latvenergo, and AST here with us today on the panel. We've worked with renewables companies, large and small, some in the form of equity funds. And we have provided not only debt project finance, but we've supported capital markets by anchoring some of the largest IPOs, as well as the green bonds of Latvenergo and the sustainability-linked bonds of EPSOG in Lithuania. An ambitious plan for renewables development, energy independence, and energy security are important themes in the Baltics, and I am looking forward to discuss them here today. Maybe just to share one last fact, which is that when agreeing to close Ignalina nuclear power station as part of its accession to EU, Lithuania was transformed overnight from a net exporter of energy to a net importer. But then we look at all of the three countries and their progress in the green energy transition. I think it's a remarkable example of resilience, transformation, and success. And I would not be surprised if in the near future, Lithuania will be, again, a net exporter of energy. Thank you, Aida.
Thank you. Thank you, Charlotte. The word transformation was mentioned several times. And indeed, this is how we see the region. This is how EBRD is ready to work. But maybe let's hear from the countries themselves. We will travel from north to south, and we'll start with Rina Kai, CFO and management board member, as I mentioned before, of Elering, the transmission system operator of Estonia. Rina, the Baltic countries have recently completed a 15-year journey, the project of more than 15 years, basically. We saw a very impressive opening video. Could you tell us more about it, and most importantly, what's next for you?
Hello, everyone, and I'm really, really privileged to be here. I'm Rina Kai, and I'm CFO of Elering. I must say that I haven't been with the company for the full time, and although some people and many people see it as a synchronization as such, as a technical project, it's far from being technical. Why was it so long? It's a big corporation, loads of negotiations, political will. The technical part was only part of it. Also planning ahead. And it showed how we managed, all three Baltic countries managed to work together closely to complete it. The really, really big and challenging project, which cost more than 1 billion euros, which was also supported by Europe. We funded like 75% from investments from CEF funds, which is also very important for all of the clients and consumers in the region, meaning that the project itself was really, really important also to Europe. At a time when this project was started, at least in Estonia, no one believed into it. It said that, we've got a grid, we've got a connection to Russia, all is good, why should we do it? And there was a confrontation why this kind of money should be spent on it. whilst after 2022, while Russia kind of attacked Ukraine and this aggression started, everyone was looking at the TSOs, why haven't you done it earlier already? And why haven't you done it quicker? And then everyone wanted it to be completed as soon as possible. And everyone saw that there is a risk, the risk that was kind of sleeping before. Now we've done it, and even the deadline was brought ahead. Initially, the synchronization was supposed to be completed by 2026, but we did it in 2025, which was, again, enormous effort, and it couldn't have been done without the effort of all three countries and all the support of Europe as well. But although we've done it, and now we're in Western Europe, Central Europe, synchronous area. The journey just begins. It's only a beginning. We are developing new markets, and there's loads and loads of challenging as the whole energy market is changing, not only for us, but also within Europe as regards to all renewables coming into the grid, and batteries are coming, and how to kind of manage the grid, and what are the manageable production units, etc., etc. But we're going to talk about it a little bit more, I suppose, in this panel already. Thank you.
Grzegorz, please, yes, do interview.
Yeah. If you allow me, just a very, very quick point. Rina, you've mentioned the synchronization and the time it took to synchronize. I think it's quite important to maybe comment on it, especially as you said, the reference quite often is being made to Ukraine being able to do it effectively overnight. I think it's important for all of us to understand that the synchronization that took place in the Baltics is quite a different thing. Yes, Ukraine, and big respect to that, managed to synchronize in no time, but that's not a full technical and commercial synchronization, which effectively makes the Baltic states now the part of the European network. It's not just about electrons flying one way or way and the other. It's much more about full consolidation of the market, allocating physical flows, allocating trades, allocating grid management, allowing grid management, etc. So just wanted to make that quick comment. Thank you.
Definitely. I totally agree with this one. It's a full consolidation.
And that makes it much more remarkable. I mean, it is remarkable. It's a result of 15 years journey. It came sort of when it was needed badly, and it's remarkable what the three countries and political will of the three countries could have achieved in coordination with the EU, of course. And thank you, Grzegorz, for your intervention as well. Moving to Gatis, member of the management board, ITS. Gatis, as Rina, you're representative of a TSO, transmission system operator. We understand that TSO is more than just an amalgamation of networks, lines, substations. It's sort of the heart of the energy. It's the beating heart of the energy system, together with many other functions like collecting data, incorporating renewables into the system, managing demand and supply, and of course international flows of energy, as Rina and Grzegorz were just discussing. Complementing what Rina said, Gatis, what do you think are the investment needs that would be now required in Latvia?
Yeah, hello, and thank you for inviting me to this panel. I will have 3 slides to support my message. Yeah, decoupling of Baltic power system from Russia and from BREL system gave investment environment 2 great benefits. One is that there is no more risk of unfair competition from suppliers who are not complying with the same environmental requirements that EU and European power plants are required to do. And second, there is no more risk of critical dependence for secure system operation. And another benefit is, while preparing Baltic power system to decouple from BREL and to synchronize with European power system, transmission system operators invested broadly in strengthening grid, in interconnections, And this also gives additional capacity to integrate renewable generation, new flexibility resources. In general, all three Baltic states have ambition in the nearest time, in coming 5 years, to become self-sufficient or net exporting region. Last year, more than 3 gigawatts of wind and solar capacity was added to the system. This year, another 3 gigawatt wind and solar is expected to be added by end of this year. This trend is expected to continue, and in order to become self-sufficient as a region, we need to double the current capacity during next 5 years. And this is where investment needs are necessary. Another area for where investments are very needed is further integrating Baltic grid in European market. On the map you can see the planned interconnection projects in the coming decade and more. Until 2035, Baltic transmission grid operators plan to increase capacity of, as we call it, vertical transmission corridor from Finland through Baltics to Poland. And after 2035, we are also studying possibilities to increase capacity to so-called horizontal transmission corridor between Baltic states and Nordic and continental Europe. All these interconnection projects will require massive investments in our region. And since I'm representing Latvian transmission grid operator, just an example, here I put on slide our company's next 10-year development plan, investment plans. Roughly half of investments by 2035 is planned for strengthening main grid, building new interconnections with neighboring Estonia and Lithuania. Significant portion of investments is also for power system resilience, critical infrastructure, defense. And of course, transmission grid operators, as you rightly mentioned, are responsible for making investment environment also for generation and flexibility sources. And part of our effort is also adopting and building a new balancing and energy market model, which is suited for today's needs.
Thank you very much, Gatis. One interesting statistic, 75% of the global population live in fossil fuel importing countries. So it's basically 3/4 of the world live in countries that are importing and paying hard currency for fossil fuel. This, of course, creates dependencies, and this also creates vulnerabilities. The number is 99%, I think, for Europe, which includes the region we're pleased to host today. So the answer, of course, is in electrification, in regional, cross-regional electrification, shifting to renewables, scaling up renewables. While Europe has a high level of renewable deployment, electrification is still lagging behind. But that would be the answer. And for electrification, of course, grids and ability to absorb the intermittent renewables will be absolutely key. You mentioned investment needs, very ambitious investment needs that you will be having, and there will have to be a financing part to it. So I'd like to give the floor to Dainius Vičinskas, Chairman of the Board and Managing Director, ILT. Dainius, I know you're willing to share with us your insights on other aspects of building sustainable energy system, maybe from a sort of financing point of view. So what are the future and development needs in Lithuania, ways to finance it, and do you see the regional dimension in the activities that you are currently doing?
Okay, thank you. Great pleasure being here, and especially as we are good partners to EBRD, we are financing the same projects, especially in the energy sector, so it's a great honor to be here and share my insights. I'm not from energy sector, I'm from financial sector, and the projects that are circulating in the market are going to a large extent through our hands and our site. So countries have been making good progress in investments into renewable energy generation. And for example, in Lithuania in 2024, 70% of electricity was produced by renewable capacities, not by burning fossil fuels. And this reduction of dependency on the fossil fuel was a very important priority. And this priority continues to be on top of the agenda. But in order to sustain further investments into renewable energy, consistent and strategic approach should be put in place by the states. Because what we see now as the investments into renewable projects have been continuing in 23, 24 quite actively. And for example, in Lithuania, generation capacity was increased from 2.7 gigawatts to 4.5 almost. And the outlook and expectation would be that by 2030 plus, this should reach like 11 gigawatts. But those investments will have to be financed by somebody. And now we see that the interest by investors is a bit declining because in Baltics now we have a good positive problem because electricity became very cheap. Cheap electricity means weaker business case for investors and higher financial risks for financing partners. So whenever an investor has an investment project in renewable energy, would this be wind, solar, hybrid, then attracting financing becomes an issue, a constraint. Baltic countries are dominated by several banks that have a conservative risk appetite. This becomes an issue. Capital markets are not really well developed in Baltics. Big financial investors haven't discovered Baltics as a place for their business interests. So for such institutions as EBRD, other FIs, and local development banks, there is an important role to be played to sustain investments into renewable energy. So speaking from Milta perspective, now we have an appetite a bit less than 1 billion euros further to provide financing to renewable energy projects. Once the banks reduce the interest, we step in and try to help investors to get financing. Now, when the electricity prices went down and connectivity is not really great with the rest of Europe, so the priority is to build up on the connectivity, to build up on network capacity, to install new generation facilities. But what's important as well, and with what we see in Lithuania, now the businesses came up with new projects, battery electricity storage facilities. And once again, there are financial constraints. There is not that big willingness to finance because this is a completely new sector. So banks in Baltics are not eager to provide financing. So once again, development banks have to take an important role. And we started signing first contract already this year to help those projects to be developed and installed. And we have quite a solid pipeline. So in Lithuania, the electricity system soon will get the balancing service, and I guess the fact that we'll be able to store the electricity means that the interest from investors to further grow the generation capacity should be back. And I think this is a good example how the development banks, international financial institutions should help further secure the investments into the sector, because ultimate goal is to become an exporter of electricity, like you rightly pointed, and hopefully this will materialize.
Thank you very much, Dennis. A couple of very interesting observations you made there, and of course you have Grzegorz Zielinski on the panel. He's your counterpart for the best battery energy sector storage projects that we really hope to see in the region. We did finance them in other parts of the EBRD region, so it's really something that is being embraced by many TSOs and development banks alike. So please speak with Grzegorz. But maybe also you and Grzegorz can comment on another point you made, is the point of low prices and low tariffs and how they might be actually not that great of a thing for investors and for lenders themselves. So I think that's a bit of, because our rule of thumb is that it has to be affordable, it has to be competitive compared to fossil fuel, it has to be, and as it goes down, it may include a bigger portion of transmission costs, something we're discussing today, that is set to grow, as we saw from the slides. So anything to add there? Because it's a bit of a controversial point you made there.
Yeah, just a bit to add on this. It's a positive problem because from a development bank perspective, we have other priorities as well. We have a priority to help our companies to decarbonize, to convert their business models into less harmful to environment. And we are motivated to incentivize new investments, new greenfields. So this is a great chance for new production facilities to be put in place. As energy prices are really affordable, this creates a good environment for other businesses to be very competitive on the European market. So it's a positive problem. So as long as it doesn't go to extremes, I guess the Baltic economies can benefit out of it.
I probably would like to add 3 points to that. First, electricity prices are low today. We may bet what are they going to be in 5 or 7 or 15 years' time, especially if we're providing long-term financing for renewable projects. But you are right. I mean, low prices today do have a negative effect on current appetite for new investment in power generation. And for all of us today, it really means renewables. However, if you look at that from another point of view, low prices of electricity translates into lowering one of the element the end user of electricity pays for. And I think rather than looking at the problem, the opportunity here is that would allow grid operators to invest more, increase their regulated asset base with relatively limited net impact on the electricity price that the end user has to pay. So that's my sort of second rather positive side point on the situation. And then the third one is if Lithuania is enjoying very low electricity prices, the natural thing to do is to export that electricity somewhere else. And the reason Lithuania is not able today to capture on the upside on high market electricity prices somewhere else is lack of interconnection or cross-border connection. So that's the third point, that explain low prices today, but also give us a little bit of a guidance of what the situation may look like, where quite ambitious investment programs on the grid side are likely to materialize in the future.
Thank you, Grzegorz. Thank you. Grzegorz Zielinski is Director for Energy Europe. He's the real expert on the BRD side and anything that has to do with energy, certainly in the Baltic region. Grzegorz, any other sort of reactions and comments from you, or maybe questions given what you've heard today?
I think I've got some comments and reactions which I would like to leave for the end. But I feel that we have not talked enough about the other leg of green energy transition. Grids, networks, TSOs, DSOs are super important. But obviously all of that has to happen in the context of increased power generation. And whether we're talking about initial shortages of electricity, green electricity or low emission electricity in Lithuania after the closure of Ignalina nuclear power plant, or whether we're talking about the challenges with oil shale in Estonia, we need to see that sharp increase in power generation of renewables. That is something that is quite likely to be predominantly delivered by private sector. And what we hear from private sector is, look, it's sometimes difficult to cooperate with the grid companies. Well, we understand that point. It's clearly grid operators prefer to have a stable electricity flow, something that can be well planned, that gives enough comfort for situations of blackouts or power outages not happening in the future. So managing intermittent renewables is always a bigger challenge. But I would like to ask Rina and Gatis, how do you view renewables, and is there anything that you're trying to do to facilitate greater investments in renewables to effectively allow and facilitate new grid connections to renewables?
Thank you. I will take it, and then Gatis can kind of compliment me. I would say that, yes, the role of the TSO has absolutely changed. Now we are more kind of moving into the area of security of supply rather than kind of a transmission operator, because everyone needs the grid when there is not enough sun, not enough wind, and then the main grid is needed. Because there are local grids already that are producers and consumers at the same time. What we can see, how renewables can evolve and develop, is we need batteries, more and more batteries to come into the grid, because although we are talking about, excuse me, low energy prices, but the energy price is low at the same time for everyone and high at the same time for everyone without batteries coming into the grid. What we need to do, and what we've done also as a big project, in order to help all this transition to become effective by right time, as quick as possible. We have talked also to policymakers, and what we try to do is pre-develop a network, meaning that everyone that wants to join the grid can come to the grid quicker than it used to be, because other than that, previously the process was quite lengthy. First of all, there was an offer or inquiry. How much does it cost to come to the grid? There was engineering, what needs to be done, how the grid needs to be strengthened. Our role is more to forecast and make the grid resilient in advance, and make all the tarification also that it would be attractive for all new connectors to come to the grid. So we've done that.
So basically, energy security, the focus, predictability, resilience of the grid.
Yes.
That you, if you could please tell us in a very few words, what is your perspective on the private sector before we move to the questions?
There are different areas where we try to improve investment environment. Interconnections is critical because in Baltic region we have solar panels, 5 gigawatts roughly, and the demand in Baltics 3 gigawatts, export capacity 2 gigawatts. So it's already up to limit, and investors are asking for new interconnections because otherwise it's a risk of negative prices. Market distortions, this is something not only in Baltics but also in pan-European. We see negative prices, and the negative prices very often are facilitated by distorted market models where power plants are not incentivized to disconnect even when prices are negative. This adds another risk level to investor when it makes a decision. We also develop a balancing market, and solar and wind is generally perceived as a challenge for balancing, but in our region, wind and solar are starting to participate in balancing markets. They are useful. They can regulate downwards and help to balance system, and this adds another revenue stream when they calculate business project. So these are areas where we are focused on.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. And balancing is indeed emerging as a big topic in many of our countries, and it's an additional revenue stream as well that can help have a positive effect sector-wide. So we are moving to questions. Thank you all very much for the first round. Our slider number is 3008279. So please use the applications coming up on the screen as well. Let's dear panel. Let's give time to the audience to ask questions. Maybe, Charlotte, you can share your insights on what we've heard today, and then Dainius, if you could comment as well.
Excuse me. Thank you, Aida. Actually, I'd like to ask a question because I also work in Southeastern Europe, where the high energy prices are actually a real problem. It's regularly brought up to us in Romania, in Greece, in Bulgaria. And so it would be interesting for me to understand the dynamic at EU level on working to sort of improve the interconnectivity, to make it possible to better transfer the energy that you're generating to even out the prices across EU. Darius, you're nodding your head, so maybe you'd like to come in.
Well, improving connectivity, this is one of top priorities for Lithuania and other countries as well. Once it's being developed, then it will be a possibility to export, and those prices will be more or less balanced. Meanwhile, like being very pragmatic, I have to say, each new project added to the network reduces the business case for the rest, for all the operational projects. So there is an issue. And one of the things how to solve the issue is to increase the consumption of electricity. To incentivize new investments, to incentivize transformation of businesses from using fossil more into more kind of electricity consumption driven. So this is the idea as well. And we see in Lithuania new projects being initiated, but a bit sad that after the war was started, we see less foreign investments coming to the Baltic region due to geopolitical risks. So luckily, local businesses are becoming quite active. So hopefully, we'll be seeing the increased consumption. But the ultimate goal would be to export the surplus of electricity.
Well, I think you and Charlotte touched on a very, very interesting topic of electrification, basically, and where there's more to be done. There are low-hanging fruit in the hard-to-abate sectors, greening up, steel, transport, fertilizer industry. So many opportunities, and it's interesting to see how this all ties together with the network stability, with inviting private renewables into the sector, with having tariffs that are sufficiently low for the population and allowing for a big investment component into the grid. But on the other hand, they are also of interest to renewable investors. So in terms of questions, very interesting question. And it sort of ties up to what Charlotte said. What would be your advice for Moldova? Very high energy prices, low connectivity, 75% imports, non-existing balance in market. What does EBRD plan to do to support it?
I guess I'm the one to take that question. Look, without going into the details of difficulties of geopolitics for Moldova, it's obvious that the intentions are to increase the security, get closer to the European Union. That effectively means tying up the cooperation with neighboring Romania. We have financed interconnections already, both on the power side as well as gas transmission side. We are in discussions with TSOs on both sides to enhance the cross-border connection capacity going forward. So I think increasing the cross-border connection with Romania is one point. The second point is also cautiously looking at the business case for increasing cross-border interconnection with Ukraine. But on top of that, what is really important is thinking how Moldova can potentially utilize its potential for domestic renewable energy power generation. And that's what EBRD is effectively pursuing, both talking to our clients who express their willingness to invest in Moldova, but also talking to the authorities and advising the authorities on renewable energy auctions, and you may be aware that there has been a recent success in this respect with the first auctions being agreed with the authorities, and we hope those to bring us a very concrete investment opportunities in new renewables in Moldova.
Thank you, Zsagars. And in general, it's a question to probably all of you, because this panel is being watched by many, it's online. What would be we've seen the remarkable video at the beginning of this cross-regional interconnection and synchronization. Any lessons learned so far? I know it's a very recent thing. We heard about the journey, Rina, from you, but any lessons learned going forward for the other regions? For other potential regional energy pools that you could share? Yes, please. Yes, of course.
Seriously, it's obvious, but we are talking about the region which is the most advanced in transition for EBRD. And for us, as well as for the region, it was all about what could we do to push the frontier even further and further, to advance a transition, a step forward. And obviously it's getting tougher and tougher because the marginal benefits are getting slower when you're talking about more and more advanced countries. But always the Baltic states have been seen as a source of great experience that we can take away somewhere else. Charlotte mentioned Western Balkans, and that's exactly the case. But not only Western Balkans, but also other regions, whether in Central Asia or in,
exactly. North Africa.
You know, we look at Baltics as a success story, which can be replicated somewhere else, and that expertise has been deployed in the past. You know, before the full-scale invasion, we had a number of Lithuanian clients investing in Belarus, for example. You know, that was a fantastic example of how that expertise can be brought sort of internationally and utilized somewhere else. But we also tried the most challenging, innovative, highly structured financial instruments first in the countries like the Baltic states, only to test them, whether they work fine, whether they deliver the transition impact that we hope to achieve. And once that test has been made, has been passed, lessons learned, implemented, we then take a much better matured financing instrument and offer it in countries that are less advanced. So I think there's a huge benefit for the region, but also for EBRD to be able to perfectionate those instruments that we do first in the most advanced countries.
You say what you wanted to say, but also if you can mention maybe the market structure, because you commented earlier on the markets and how they fit into this new synchronized modality. Over to you.
Yeah, with regards to lessons learned, I think it's important that when a region, be it Moldova or any other, is in a fast transformation, adding new renewable capacities, it's important for architects of this setup is not only to focus of this green generation technologies, but also on systems that are supporting security of operation. Ancillary services markets, inertia markets, grid reinforcements. This is what the Baltic region learned in a very quick lesson, because in addition to generation transformation, we also lost a great deal of stability when decoupling from Brel system. So we, in a way, got this effect in a very short period of time. So this is one thing. And with regards to markets, it's definitely very important what balancing and ancillary service markets do. In addition to energy market, they add a price tag on flexibility. And there is flexibility everywhere. Even consumers, even wind and solar, they have flexibility. But it does not appear in a system when you don't add a price tag. And what balancing and ancillary services markets do, they do exactly that. They add the price. And this is what we did in the Baltic region. We are now running a Baltic capacity market on a daily basis and balancing energy exchange market. It's a regional market, and we are expanding and integrating with further out to Nordic and Poland.
Thank you. Maybe Irina wants to add. I mean, I'm just noting that the flexibility has a price tag. It has to be paid by someone. Well, I cover some of the regions that we don't have balancing markets, and this is some people are looking for TSOs are looking for technologies, be it BESS, be it just building more substations and lines. But what are the other? I mean, what would be your sort of if you were to pick technology and combined with markets modality, what would you do, Irina?
I fully support what Katis was saying as regards to market and market design. Sorry. And what is very, very important also to develop digital tools in order to be more agile and react to different movements. So thinking ahead and planning ahead, designing the market, supporting by digital tools is critical in this sense. Plus interconnections, because if interconnections will be lost, which in our case happened several times, then it also affects the whole market, whether it's a balancing market or electricity market, because unfortunately we got hit and we lost Estlink 2 twice.
We heard from Daidos, I mean, some financiers find it problematic to go into lending for best storage solutions. What would you? Is there a regulatory framework to absorb those, to provide some sort of comfort to investors, say private investors who want to co-locate a battery storage with their renewables?
Definitely. It's, again, as I told before, then synchronization is not only a technological project, it's the cooperation and negotiation project, meaning that we need to cooperate with lenders, namely EBRD also, but also policymakers, meaning that if states are aiming to achieve this renewable goal by 2030, then there should be kind of a means in order to provide secureness for the investors. It doesn't need to be in a monetary terms straight away, but there should be some secure means and regulations in place in order to be attractive to investors. Because if the policyholders are making changes today and changing their minds tomorrow, and then the day after tomorrow, then we won't be attractive. Being quite a small country, kind of stability and long vision is very important to make in place.
Thank you. Charlotte, anything you would like to add in terms of how we attract the private sector participation in the region?
Well, thank you, Aida. Actually, I wanted to come to that, and it's related to something Grzegorz said as well about how the EBRD learns in these three markets. So I'd like to make a couple of points. First of all, I think it's an amazing lesson for other small countries about the importance of collaboration with the neighbors. I don't see in any region where the EBRD works, where three countries or a number of countries work together so effectively to overcome various challenges, because to do so on your own as a small country would be much harder. But this whole collaboration, cooperation, it's a challenging process. So hats off to the countries for that. And I'd just like to mention that one of the areas where the collaboration has been most impressive is in developing the capital markets. And we, EBRD, we have partnered with the three countries in this effort that has led to really the creation of a single index for the stock exchanges across the region, but collaboration on a number of products that are offered simultaneously across the three countries. And I think that that is where the private sector comes in, because you can invest in the shares of a company in Lithuania, from Estonia, et cetera, and making these three countries a single market really does help with the investors, whether it's domestic investors, pension funds, whether it's the foreign investors, once they get their appetite back when there's an end to the war in Ukraine, frankly. But so that's something I wanted to comment on, and I really take my hat off to the countries in this area. Thank you.
Thank you. And I mean, it is remarkable what's been achieved. It started with the video. We got into more detail with the TSOs, with Financia, co-finance, our partners. And it's really a question, I guess, of how this can be replicated in other regions. I used to cover Central Asian region. This is something, I don't want to say it's similar, but it's there are challenges, the water, energy, and access, how the balancing market can be developed in those conditions. We're looking at North Africa and Middle East, and well, there are big interconnector projects going into Europe. There's also TSOs are central, the beating heart of any question that has to do with renewables. And as the bank hopefully will be entering the sub-Saharan Africa region, we will be facing completely different challenges there, I guess, related to decentralized generation, microgrids, lack of transmission capacity. So it's a great learning experience to hear at this panel today from the three countries. Grzegorz, anything you would like to add?
I would, but as we're talking
Please, we have
Baltic States panel, we are going to end on time because you know that's what distinguishes this region as well from others in which we operate, which I very much personally appreciate. So if you don't have any other Slido questions, I'll just try to wrap it up a little bit. Again, start with the obvious. We all ought to remember that the power grid in the Baltic states has been designed, well, almost 100 years ago. It was a Soviet system. You know, it wasn't a system for three independent Baltic states that are now members of the European Union. It was designed to connect three Soviet republics which were fairly remote from the center of decision-making in Moscow. So that had in its implications of how the network was designed initially and how that network has to continually be redesigned and built to support the key objectives and the security of the region today. Now, I'm not going to go through absolutely everything that has been said during this panel, but I will try to make a few points. First, splitting them into the discussion on the grid that we had, but also on renewables. We talked about the importance of energy security. We talked about grid connection for renewables. We talked about digitalization and smart grid and better and more efficient network management. We also talked about cybersecurity. We didn't get a chance to talk about demand-side response, which is probably more on the DSO side, distribution system operator side, rather than the transmission system operator side. But that's an area which also can deliver lots of benefits for the security of the grid and for the efficiency of the grid. On the renewable side, talking about scaling up renewables and investment plans in the region, we've highlighted the importance of onshore wind and solar technology. We did not get a chance to talk about offshore too much, but we're fully aware of a rather huge scale offshore wind ambitions in the region, one in Lithuania with Ignitis and Ocean Wind teaming up, and another more sort of regional cooperation between Estonia and Latvia. Needless to say that EBRD remains eagerly interested in providing financing and capitalizing on the offshore wind financing expertise that we already have with two offshore wind projects that we've managed to close in Poland in the past. We have talked about innovative financing for renewables as well, and I will try to come back to it at the very end. Where we didn't in my personal view, spend probably enough time is on another important thing, which is regulation. And I'm not going to open the discussion on that today. It could be a subject for another panel, maybe next year in Riga. But again, when I say regulation, I mean regulation for renewables, and that's really all about permitting for renewables and making investments easier for private sector, but also regulation for the network operators and designing the regulations and the tariff in such a way that would incentivize network operators to facilitate greater connection of renewables to the network, which remains a big question across all of our region, not just the Baltic states.
Grzegorz, thank you.
I need 30 more seconds, please.
No
I'm going to cut all the rest, but on financing, one thing that I would like to highlight, the most innovative instruments that have been developed in our region come from the Baltics. Again, just listing very quickly, we've supported capital markets with IPOs of Enefit Green and Ignitis, green bonds issuance of Ignitis,
the full gamut,
etc.
Yes.
Equity, private investment, numerous project financing, etc., and we hope to do more. Full stop. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you very much for this lively exchange and debate. Before we finish, we've just one more thing to remind you about. Next year, the annual meeting and the business forum will take place in the region we have been discussing for this last hour. We would like to share with you the video of our host for 2026, the city of Riga.
There's a calm moment in the morning just for yourself. Then the world exhales, and in the blink of an eye, Riga is awake. Everyone sees Riga differently. To some, it's a historic treasure. To others, the future in motion. But no matter what, we all look in the same direction. Here, people share not only spaces, but a vision for the future. As the geographical center of the Baltics, Riga connects the north with the rest of Europe. Modern offices rise next to historic rooftops, where international teams turn thoughts into action. From an idea to an innovation, from a conversation to a smart solution. From fintech to deep tech, startups here don't follow trends. They set them. Fast thinking and even faster connections. In Riga, digital speed meets physical mobility. Over 100 destinations, all within reach. A capital that moves with the world and moves it forward. Expanding air, water, and land routes. Riga isn't just connected, it's the connector. Not just a meeting point, but a launching pad for opportunities. Riga reveals itself in details, from authentic flavors to Michelin restaurants, from architecture that whispers stories to nature being just a heartbeat away. Here, culture flows constantly, and tradition dances with contemporary life. Where work ends, experiences begin. With moments that linger like a pause before the standing ovation. Countless perspectives, one shared focus.
See you in Riga.
Thank you. Thank you very much to my esteemed panel, to the audience here and online. And we really look forward to seeing you next year in Riga.